give us the strength to continue working for your kingdom in this time of pandemic. Lord, come give us the inspiration to be the best we can be. May we be a shining example of your goodness and truth within, wherever we are. Inspire our thoughts, discussions, and ideas, and continue to remind us that all that we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Kayang magiliw, ewas ang silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Upang pinirang, kuyak ka ng magiting, sa mandudubig, di ka pasisingin, sa nagagang tutok sa simoy at sa langit mong panglaw, ay hinagang tulang awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng magawat mo'y tagumpay na naghihingi, ang bituin at araw niya kailan ang may di magtitingin. Lumang ang araw ng waratid pagsingka, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya ng pagkay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. To PMAP, upholding mass respect and dignity. Promoting concerts, ties, and harmony to keep our stand of unity. We believe in our call for responsibility. We believe
Are you all excited for the second PMAP Hackathon? I bet you all are. I don't want to keep you all waiting. So to formally start our program, let me call on our 2023 PMAP Board of Trustees in charge of the Research Committee, friends and fellow PMAPers. Let us all welcome Ms. Alma Albano. Ms. Alma?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here. Welcome you all to our second PMAP Hackathon Kickoff. To quote Bill Gates, success today requires the agility and drive to constantly rethink, reinvigorate, react, and reinvent. It's very timely that our theme for this year's hackathon is about agility and innovation. And as a premier human resource organization in the Philippines, we are forerunner on the best possible ideas, processes that could turn organization around. Just like the rest of the team and to those who are present here this afternoon, I am very eager to listen and learn what this second hackathon will bring. So without much further ado, I'd like to welcome you all, participants, guests, fellow PMAPers, for this kickoff. Thank you and have a pleasant stay for this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Trustee. Trustee Alma, that what a very warm welcome. I'm sure our attendees are really excited for this afternoon. Moving on, let me welcome on our virtual stage the project lead for this year's PMAP Hackathon, Human Resources Lead of NTT Philippine Solutions Incorporated, and an educator in the De La Salle College of St. Benilde, Ms. Veronica Estrella, SHRM SCP, to give us the HR context of this year's hackathon theme, Employee Experience through Agility and Innovation. Ms. Veron?
Hi, thank you, Pinky, and good to see Trusty Alma as well. So thank you for all the support. Well, good afternoon to all of you who had taken the time to be here. Well, to learn from our speakers as well during this kick-off session. To lead this project is really a privilege. The committee is composed of several HR practitioners as well, advocates, of innovation. So thank you to the committee as well. So our theme for this year's HR Innovation Hackathon is breakthroughs in employee experience through agility and innovation. So Ms. Alma already mentioned why agility and innovation would be very important, especially in our ever-changing business landscape. But agility and innovation, truly big, big, big words. Even prior to the pandemic, the employee experience had been paramount in the priorities of our organizations. However, when the pandemic started, the pandemic really accelerated the thrust to elevate the employee experience. Again, given the VUCA-ness, of the world, no? Volatile, ambiguous, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. Elevating the employee experience meant being agile and thinking out of the box. So this meant redesigning the workplaces and making them not just better, but adaptive and regenerative. Keeping in mind, of course, that people are our best renewable resource, actually asset. By leveraging on technology and other tools, we can keep the warmth and focus on people. That's the thrust of this hackathon. PMAP recognizes this challenge to refocus, reconnect, and restart for us to achieve this regeneration. So it is with this backdrop that we bring together ourselves in this hackathon for us to enable experimentation and reach breakthroughs in the work, the workers, and workplaces. So all towards elevating employee experience, aiming to say that, at the end of the day, that we have created a hub of thinkers and rethinkers, idea creators and innovators, leveraging on technology and tools, not to reduce the personal touch on employee experience, but to keep the warmth, so that together we're able to build a workplace, a workforce that is autonomous, growing, and going through their employment journey with a purpose. So with that, welcome to our hackathon this year, and good afternoon and happy learning. Enjoy learning this afternoon. Thank you, Pinky. Back to you.
Thanks, Veron. We have always been for continuous improvement. That's the only way to move forward. It's always a pleasure to work with the research team, most especially under your leadership, Veron. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Pinky.
Once again, thank you so much, Ms. Veron Estrella, our project lead for this year's PMAP Hackathon. And to give us a run through about the hackathon and how this came to be, let us welcome Global Vice President for Talent Experience, Doxa Talent, the dashing Mr. Eric Rego de Jos.
Thank you so much, Pinky. It's a great pleasure to be working with everyone else here in our research committee. Everything is actually brought by passion. So with that, I would like to also invite you to look into the presentation that we have in store for you so that we are guided in terms of our conversation this afternoon. Not so sure about the dashing though, Pinky, but while we're waiting for our presentation, it is indeed a pleasure because we're talking about all of our initiatives here in HR. And this year, 2023, is actually known as to be the year of people experience. We have actually been focusing on experience actually even before, like what Veron actually mentioned. But this year is most special that as we transition from the height of the pandemic, we really wanted to focus on addressing the needs. And we talk about the great resignation, we're talking about quiet quitting, and all of these would have to be addressed at and nip at the forefront. So having said that, as we go through the slides that we'll be presenting to you, I know if we're not we're ready there, or perhaps if I could share my own slides, let me see. So Pinky, if I may see, I'm not able to share.
Okay, may we request our technical team to please show the presentation of Eric?
Our team might also have a copy of this.
Yes. Or enable the sharing there. Let me.
So, Pinky, in this live event, we will always have to encounter all of these things. And as mentioned by Veron, we are in a VUCA environment. So we are in a complex, volatile, uncertain, and, oh, there you go.
There
so
you
that's
go.
a bit more clarity.
You have to be
Having
ready
said
all the
that,
time.
when they talk about clarity, there has to be a concrete purpose for us to really anchor this initiative on. And there is no other clear purpose than the overall purpose of creating a regenerative workplace. And having said that, PMAP is really focused on refocusing, reconnecting, and restarting, and wanted to embrace this with a second PMAP Innovation Hackathon, which actually aims to help people managers be more agile and adaptable in an ever-changing landscape of human resource, or as mentioned by Veron, asset. Having said that, there is a second rationale for this. We also wanted to enhance employee experience, as we have mentioned, that this is the year of people experience, given the new ways of working that we are trusted with. So with that goal, how do we rationalize and operationalize this? Moving on to the next slide. So move back. There is a missing slide here. So let me just check. So I could probably just talk through it. There you go. Yeah, now to achieve these goals, our PMAP opened the hackathon to all HR professionals, people managers, employees, students, and the academe professionals from established corporations to startups to the academe again, university linkages, and independent practice in the Philippines, because the trust really is to make sure that this is an inclusive program where everybody can join, because no one has a monopoly of truth when it comes to innovation, creativity at work. And just to break down in a more granular detail the participation in this year's hackathon, we have 56 registrations received through our website. There are 3 teams under professional category, 8 teams under student category, and we have 1 singular individual entry as well. So thank you so much. And now just to break down even further our participation, we are seeing that from the company's perspective, we have Spiralytics Incorporated, we have wedding workflows, startup companies, freelancers, and from the academe side or university side, we have the Cagayan State University, another Cagayan State University now with Carig Campus, University of Pangasinan, Philippine Science High School, Central Visayas Campus. And I don't know whether you're seeing this, but we also have from University of Asia and the Pacific. So that gives you the depth and breadth of the participation this year. Definitely more varied, more granular compared to last year. And we look forward to even a more diverse portfolio in the next years to come. Having said that, let us all ground ourselves in terms of trying to understand the roadmap. And the next slide will provide us that view. So as you could recall, we started with our registration last February, and then we tried to end it up last February 28, 2023 at exactly almost 12 midnight or 12 midnight. That's right. And this is followed by our hackathon kickoff session, which is actually we're doing now. And hopefully we'll be able to finish everything within the span of 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. And we have lots in store for you for today, a lot of learning experiences that we can all learn from. And this will be followed by our ideation or hackathon proper that will happen on, that already happened starting from March 8th to March 2022. And from there, we're starting to actually receive all of the submissions of the requirements, and this will go on until the March 31st at exactly 12, almost 12 midnight as well. So talking about the judging of the entries, may we move on to the slide where we have the judges. So we would like to introduce to you the next slide where we have the panel of the board of judges. As you can see, we have Mr. Engelbert Kamasura or Gilbert Kamasura, the Chief Talent Officer and the CEO of PM Consulting. We also have Dr. George Westerman, the Senior Lecturer from no other than the MIT or Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the Sloan School of Management. And last but not the least, Mr. Denchu Jose Decino, the Global Talent Shared Service Leader of Ernst & Young Global Delivery Services. This is a very esteemed panel of judges in whom we entrust the actual discernment of this year's winner. Just to wrap it up, let's move on to the next slide just to see the next steps in our roadmap. So you have been introduced to our judges, and the next step actually is the actual pitching and announcement of those teams. So that will happen on April 18, 2023. Very exciting. And that will actually culminate on April 28th when we will have our pitching and awarding ceremony at 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And we are looking forward to having you with us in this very momentous occasion as we really try to deliver the best for our people, showcasing innovation in the HR platform and creativity. So back to you, Pinky.
Thank you so much, Eric. I am pretty sure that our innovators are so excited and definitely challenged as we draw near the D-Day. What do you think, Eric? Are they pretty much excited now, or are they?
If I am excited,
questions
they should have 10 times the excitement. Actually, it's about, it's not necessarily nervousness because we're doing all of this for the people and for the HR community and for our nation. So things are looking very bright, and everyone should be excited because of this platform. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure. So maybe we could ask Veron to join us, and probably we could ask her how she feels about all these things, being the team lead of this project. Veron, can you join us?
Yeah, sure. Of course, Pinky, very excited. I'm also very happy to see the registrants. There's a big, huge interest, to showcase basically and join, the hackathon. That's a testament, that people are really, they're looking for a venue to think out of the box, be able to
Yes.
experiment, and this is a good sign, especially I am looking at a lot of registrants are also students,
Yeah.
and they are our future generation, that will
We
build on our employee
we
experience.
actually have more registrants compared to last year, so it's very,
Yes,
very exciting. And
yes.
we have wedding planners. My goodness, diba? They also want to
Oh,
have
yeah.
continuous improvement. By the way, may we ask Miss Alma to join?
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Alma, being
As
the
we wait for
trustee.
Alma, yeah,
I'm here.
there you go. Hi, Alma.
The other
Hello.
aspect, yeah, the other aspect, Pinky, is I'm also glad to see the diversity aspect in even amongst our judges.
That's
Oh
right.
The
yes,
different disciplines
definitely.
as
Yeah,
well, where they're
The good
coming from,
mix.
and
that's
yeah,
right.
the good mix. So
And
that's really good.
Alma and Veron, I think that is also a testament to how inclusive PMAP is, because it's really living its theme of becoming regenerative and more inclusive. As I've mentioned earlier, no one has the monopoly of truth here, and no one has a monopoly of creativity, innovation. It really takes a village or a whole town to really drive forward progress for our nation and for our respective communities. That's why I'm very excited. I know all of this is driven by our passions, Veron, Alma, and Joy, and I'm sure all of the participation will really bring forth even more passion and innovation for the whole HR community.
Very diverse, very, very, very
Mm.
inclusive. It's not
Yeah.
just focusing on the general industry. I was really surprised to see the other industries joining the hackathon as well. And we have we have judges also coming, or a judge coming from the academe. So students are really, really also excited, and they would have that experience to join something. I would say it would be a challenge for them because they are presenting with other people, other entries from the industry. It's not, it's really a joke. Kinakabahan nga ako kung ano, thesis defense lang yan sa school, di ba? Now that it's like, you know, in a general play field, everyone is the same. It's the same wavelength, same everything, and same judges, don't you think?
Exactly. And it's very heartwarming to see, participants from different universities, because mostly if other school can see this participant, probably next year, our attendees will increase, diba? So the
Yes.
more, the merrier. Much better yung participation, especially from the students.
Yeah, I saw, Philippine Science High School from the Central Visayas. So excited
Exactly.
for them. O, di
Yeah.
ba, we have from Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao.
Right. And it's not just from a geographic perspective, because we do have a good representation from the north and also from our Vismin area, but also from, from companies, even small enterprises are actually participating. So it goes to show the inclusiveness of this platform. And we also
Mhm.
say before that education is a great leveler. I think technology now is also a great leveler, as long as you're able to access it and use it for the benefit of the good. It's a force for
True.
good for sure.
True. And Eric, no, speaking of inclusion, I know I'm looking at the number of participants that we have here at the moment. We have 56 people, no, aside from the panelists. So we're talking about how we feel about the hackathon, what's our expectation. Maybe it could also be good, no, for our attendees to, chat, use the chat box, or if you want to, I don't know, are they enabled to also speak, it would be good to get their thoughts as well, because
Yes,
they're really the
especially,
center, front and
especially
center to this hackathon.
especially from the innovators. If you are
Yes,
here, if
yes,
you know,
yes.
what are you expecting from the hackathon? Feel free to put it on chat, and we do have our team lead here, our trustee, and we have Eric here to tell them how they would view also, especially when the D-Day is very nearing. Time flies, and we would be able to see you all making your own pitches. So anyone from the audience, especially the innovators
Yeah, so we're inviting not just questions, any comments or
or
suggestions or
comments.
just sentiments. If you're sharing the same passion, same excitement, or even nervousness, because it's just normal for us really to feel all of those emotions. But I guess when you share your emotion, you can only be comforted, or that could be amplified even more when you share that. So we're looking forward to hearing more from you.
Let me see. Oh, the chat box is not.
Siguro
Um,
hanggang mamaya, Pinky,
Uh,
anyway,
naman
the chat box is
Filipinos, we,
there.
we take a bit of
yeah.
warming up in these
Yeah.
But I
occasions.
really would like to know who are in our audience, or
Yeah.
participants, even in social media. Can you do a shout out to your company? Just hi, from what company you are, and probably an emoji how you're feeling, um,
Yeah. And
hard or whatever. Is it raining over there?
you know what, Pinky, we're actually being a webcast in different platforms. I know for sure that we are being telecast in Facebook. We're being webcast as well in LinkedIn, and of course we have our own Zoom site right now. So I'm just very curious where those comments will be coming from, because for sure we are not just seeing the chat here. There might be some comments as well in all of those other social
Yes,
media
and don't
platforms.
forget YouTube. YouTube
Oh
is
yeah, for
also.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
sure.
we also.
So,
Oh,
oh,
there
good
you go.
afternoon. Attending from Philippine Science High School, Western Visayas campus. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so happy
Welcome.
that
Good
you'd be able to join
afternoon.
us. Good afternoon.
Erwin.
Ayun, sino pa? Innovator ata si Western Visayas.
Yeah, Mao.
Yeah.
Mukhang participant natin siya. And then thank you so much for your entry. We look forward to hearing more from you in the days to come. And thank you so much for being so, oh, Bioseed Research
Ayos.
Philippines Incorporated as well. Thank you. Mabuhay kayo.
Thanks for joining. Research company din sila.
Oh, Bioseed Research.
But I think they're also an entry, right? Bioseed? I think I saw their name. Wala ba? Or probably next year.
Yeah, oh, we have 56 eh. Participant lang po.
Participant lang
Walang
po.
lang because all of us here are learners. No? So what is
Yes.
important is we're taking away something from this and using that for good.
Mhm. Um, we also, once again, we would like to thank our sponsor for today because without them, wala tayo dito, di ba? So thank you so much, OC Tanner, for your invaluable contribution to our second PMAP Innovation Hackathon. We are very, very grateful. And may we ask our technical team to please play their AVR so that we can acknowledge their sponsorship.
And also hi from Metalcast Corporation while we're waiting for the video. And the University of Perpetual Health
Perpetual Health.
System.
Good afternoon. Thanks for
Good afternoon to
joining.
you.
Thank you, OC Tanner. Ayan, may heart tayo.
Wow.
There you go. Wow, Systech Lighting and Controls Incorporated, welcome as well. Thank you for your participation.
All right. Once again, thank you so much, Eric, Beron, and Trustee Alma. We also like to acknowledge the presence of our two judges, Mr. Dench Decino and Gilbert Kamasura. Good afternoon to both of you, sirs. I am pretty sure that our innovators are so excited and definitely nervous, or I would say challenged as we draw near the D-Day. So to our audience and innovators, as we start our packet sessions for today, you may send in your questions to our speakers using our Q&A box found at the bottom of your screen. And for those who are joining by Facebook and YouTube Live, kindly use the comment section and our speakers will answer your questions right after their discussions. For our first topic for today on business model creation and pitch, we have the Growth Marketing Manager for Lending at GCash. He has been with GCash for over 5 years, leading the strategy, development, and execution of campaigns for various products of GCash, such as online payments, pay bills, pay QR, and now the lending products G Loans, G Gives, and G Score. As a growth manager or growth marketing manager, rather, For GCash, he works in collaboration with cross-functional teams to ensure baseline user and transaction growth, product penetration, consistent awareness, and uptrend in brand health. Friends, it is my pleasure to introduce Mint, Global FinTech Innovations Incorporated Growth Marketing Senior Manager, Mr. Gabriel Gabo Ichon.
Hello,
Gabo,
good afternoon.
good afternoon.
Hi, Pinky. Thank you for having me. If
Welcome.
I may share my screen.
Um, yes, I think you are able to share your screen.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon to everyone. So today I'll be covering on how to create and pitch a business model. But first, a little introduction about myself. I am Gabo Ichon. Gcash is still my first job, but I have been with Gcash for over 5 years. And in this journey, I have seen Gcash grow. For those who may have used the app before the pandemic back in 2017, from when we only had a few products, from send money to pay bills and buy load. And at that time, PayQR was still very, very new. To 2020, to when the pandemic happened, we offered more solutions. We grew our use cases and features to what it is today, a super app that many Filipinos use, the number one e-wallet in the country. And in this growth, we've really seen the app with many, many millions of Filipinos registering for the app and finding solutions for every Filipino every day. And with the growth of our user base comes as well the growth of our merchant base and social sellers, to millions now accepting Gcash. And for all those who use the app and for those who use it for their business, for personal use, would like to also thank you for that. And in this journey, we've really seen it grow. And in this growth of Gcash, we always knew that the world would continue to change. And as the world continues to change, Gcash continues to innovate. But whenever we innovate, whenever we create new models for new products, we always keep the same mission at heart. And that's to bring financial access to every Filipino. And we keep this in mind in every step of the way whenever we launch new products, whenever we relaunch for new campaigns, and whenever we go into the market. This is the same mission that we have at heart. So going into the topic of this afternoon, we need to understand first, what is a business model? So what is a business model? The textbook definition that you might find online or in textbooks really is how an organization makes a profit, creating, delivering, and capturing value in economic, social, cultural, and other contexts. But I find for this afternoon, that might be a bit too rigid of a definition. So to put simply here, when we talk about a business model is really making money from ideas. And in this session this afternoon, in the quick time I'll be having with you, what you might expect to learn is how we come up with ideas that obviously make money, and how to pitch that idea to the audiences that you need to pitch to. And in order to do so, there are three questions you'd ask yourself, and these are the three questions that we'll be going through in this session. So with that, we will also be talking about examples of how we apply that within Gcash, and I'll be using our lending products as an example. So the first question that we'd ask is, what's my idea? The second one is, how do I make money out of that idea? And lastly, when you go into the pitching, who am I pitching to? So let's go into the first question. What's my idea? And whenever we talk about an idea, there's a simple way of how to look at it. An idea has to always be a solution. Obviously, when coming up with business models, it will always start with this idea. And this idea, which is a solution, the solution has to solve a human problem. It has to be able to solve the problems of many people around the world or within the market that you're trying to address. And it's something universal within that market that you're trying to solve. Next, is there a sizable market for this solution? You might have a great idea, but if it's only for a few, then maybe it's not the size that you'd want your business model to grow to. So you want to keep that in mind when coming up with your idea or your solution. And lastly, to stand out, it needs to be a unique solution. So this is the start of the business model. Coming up with the idea, and it always has to be a solution that solves a human problem, has a sizable market, and it's always going to be unique. Looking into Gcash, back in 2021, BSP found that over 34 million Filipino adults don't have a bank account. And the real problem that we found here was that millions actually don't have access to lending solutions because of that same lack of access to a bank account. And when we look further into this problem, we look into the lay of the land. What are the current solutions that are currently being offered in the Philippines? And this is your traditional and informal lending. With formal institutions such as banks and co-ops, there'll be many documents required, and you'd have to, more often than not, have an in-person application for either your account or for any solution that you're trying to set up. And for informal lending, which we know as 5/6 or utang, is easy and familiar, yes, because no documents required. You can find someone that you know you can borrow from, but it usually comes with high interests and as well as an emotional baggage or HIA, especially if the person you know you're borrowing from is someone you know closely. So with Gcash, we look to enter into the lending business by offering things that we can leverage on with our current setup as being the number one e-wallet. And we wanted to look into what are the advantages that we have, what's the solution that we can offer, and how can we make it unique. So first and foremost, being the number one e-wallet, we already knew that we are open to all. So that solves the solution of the millions of Filipinos who don't have an access to a bank account. As long as they can download the app and verify their account, then they can start to access our lending products. And it's all in one app. So the barrier to access is a lot lower. It's digital, no need to go in person. Then we want to be able to offer quick and easy access. And in this, we always made sure that there were zero additional documents needed after you register from Gcash. So once you start up an account and you verify, we don't want to push more for additional documents. Again, keeping in mind the documents required for formal lending solutions. And lastly, we want to have competitive rates. We'll never offer down payment. It will always be superior versus the informal lenders and always be competitive versus the formal lenders. So this is the idea that we had, taking Gcash into the lending space, leveraging off what our strengths, and looking into the different problems that were already present in the current lay of the land for the lending business in the Philippines. So that was the first question. We had the idea, and now that we have the idea, how do we make money out of it? So in asking yourself, how do I make money from this idea? There's some follow-up questions that you can ask yourself. The first one is, what are everyday problems and pain points that I can look into that my idea can solve? The next one is, what do people currently do to solve those problems? Are there alternatives from competitors? Are there informal solutions that people look into to solve those same problems? And with them finding those solutions, how much are they willing to pay for that solution? And then you can start to get ideas of where you can insert yourself to be competitive, knowing this. Then you can ask yourself, are the prices I set competitive versus those other solutions? And when you have that all figured out, or when you've asked yourself those questions, you then ask yourself, how will I bring this into the market? How will I frame it? How will I market it? What's my plan? So going back into Gcash as an example, we looked into the problems that we need to solve within the lending space. The first one is that need for extra funds. That access for lending solutions to borrow more money was the first thing we want to solve. The second one is the barrier for that need for requirements. And lastly, it's the price to get those extra funds. Because you might have the solution, but if the price doesn't agree with the market, then you won't have that take up. So first and foremost, the need for extra funds. Within formal lending, there are many products. So there's a long list from bank loans to credit cards to installment plans. Many banks already offer this. In formal lending, it's outright cash. So with Gcash, we wanted to capture it all and find a solution for it all. Within these three products that we launched, G Credit for a credit scoring for a credit system, G Loan for instant cash, and G Gives for installments, as well as and putting that all together, you'll be able to borrow at your own terms for all the needs that you might have. So solving the problem for extra funds, check. Next one is the need for requirements. With formal lending, there's a long list of requirements depending on what you're applying for, from loan qualifications to valid documents to proof of income and a credit history. Informal lending might be flexible and easy, but it's very reliant on the personal relationship that you have with the lender. So with Gcash, we wanted to provide instant approval. With the KYC data or the documents that you already submit when you verify as a Gcash user, that's already enough for the requirements that we need for when you need to borrow with Gcash, as well as coming up with our own proprietary scoring system known as G-Score to be able to allow people to borrow from the risk rating that they already have. So for this one, we're able to answer the need for requirements. Lastly is the price to get those extra funds. With formal lending, it's 1.5 to 1.8 interest. This may be changing. With formal lending, looking at 5.6 is a whopping 20% interest. So with Gcash, we always wanted to make sure that we are always superior versus informal. So never going beyond that 20% or not even going close, and always being competitive versus formal, adjusting with the market and making sure that we're always competitive within the whole industry. So we figured out the problems that we needed to solve and taking into context the current solutions that are already being offered by competitors and how much people are already willing to pay for those solutions. Then we now know how we can come in, both in the price and the product offers that we have. The last question you'd want to ask yourself how to make money out of this idea is how to bring it to the market. And with this, we plotted out the different problems that we were able to solve. And we flesh this out into how each product or different use case of the lending products would solve the different solutions. So first and foremost, we wanted to introduce the category. Since many Filipinos didn't have access, we just wanted to bring out the Gcash, you can borrow with Gcash, that there's solutions for all. And this is our master brand approach, showcasing that within Gcash, there are solutions that you can find. And for the different needs, for one, with instant cash, we opened up G Loan, where you can get up to 125,000 pesos with it instantly, easy cash, easy approval, easy interest rates. For everyday purchases, we have G Credit for our credit line, where you can get up to 30,000 pesos with instant credit. Again, no documents needed, lower interest when you pay early, and you can pay a minimum amount due before you leave. And lastly, for the big purchase installments, we introduced G Gives, where you can pay lighter by paying in installments for up to 24 months. And when you pay with G Gives, there's 0% interest for certain merchants, zero down payment, zero credit card needed, and zero docs needed. So this is how we thought about bringing it into the market, coming from how we already understood how we can be competitive. And when we understood this, we were able to frame that each product, together with the master brand, had an attached problem that they're trying to solve, while still tying it back to what can we leverage off by coming from Gcash being the number one e-wallet. So that solves the second question: how do I make money out of that idea? Then we go into who do you pitch to? And you have to really understand the audience that you have. So you may have the idea, but this idea will need to be tweaked depending on who you're pitching to. And the first thing is to understand your audience and what they need. Then you need to understand, once you understand what they need, you can then focus on what is relevant to them. And then you're able to frame exactly what you need from them at the end of your pitch. So an example that we have within Gcash, and I think applicable to many other companies as well, is this. So first we identify the different audiences. So for example, you may be talking to collaborators or business partners, the customers. In this case, we'll be using B2B businesses, and then investors. Now that you've identified your different audiences, you can look into what are the different objectives that they have in mind, or what would they want from me. For partners or collaborators, they may look to expand their base and reach by partnering with you, finding a unique base that they could touch into. For customers, it's looking into the solutions for their businesses. And for investors, it's looking at profitability. Then you look back into your idea as you build your presentation for the pitch. You'd want to adjust the focus of that pitch. So for collaborators, you might want to focus more on product fit, product roadmap, and scalability when they partner up with you. For customers, you'd want to show your product solutions and the features that you can offer, and then the proof of concept to show that the solutions you're offering for their business works. And for investors, it's the business case and the resources that you may be asking for. Then when you're able to identify that focus, you can then frame your ask. So for collaborators, it's to join in a partnership. For customers, it's to enable the product for their business. And then for investors, it's an investment into your business. So those are the three questions, three very simple questions to ask yourself when creating a business model and pitching it. And to recap it, it's what's my idea? And then here, an idea is always a solution. And then how do I make money out of that idea? Wherein you look into everyday problems versus the current solutions and see where can you come in here to be competitive. And lastly, who am I pitching to? You have to understand your audience, their needs, and know your key ask. That's all I have for today. Thank you, and hope you have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gabo, for sharing your products, your journey towards the expansion of GCash from a simple e-wallet, huh? E-wallet. GCash was known as a simple e-wallet lang noon to a much more
Yes.
diversified financial option. I so like the definition of business model, making money with ideas. So to our innovators, your ideas will most certainly either make money or save money for your organizations. Diba? So now let's check for questions coming from our participants. Let's see. Okay, from an anonymous attendee, Shaisha. How did you solve the problem that not everyone or the people who will need your solution the most may not have access to internet, which the app actually needs?
Thank you. It's a good question. One way to look at that is first knowing the capabilities of your solutions. If you know, for example, Gcash requires internet, then that's the space that we play in. But because that's our limitation, we also keep in mind how is that limitation evolving with the market. As internet access also starts to penetrate into the regions, the more far-flung areas being solved by other companies, by other groups, we keep that in mind, and that's where we play in that space. So similar to, I think there's another question about how do you identify your target market. You may not be able to solve the solutions for everyone. It's understanding what solution can you offer to the people that you can actually address. So it's knowing those limitations. You'll never be able to solve it for everyone, but that's also the same framing that you would need to make yourself unique, because you need to know the space that you're playing in, and within that space, how can you make yourself unique?
Yeah, and it is actually a challenge for people who are on far-flung areas. They don't even know, no, what Gcash is all about, and it's really good also to see even a simple karinderya or a simple sari-sari store already has Gcash, and parents are would not have that difficulty anymore of sending allowance because their students can also cash in. I saw a cash in parang ATM
Yes.
in Ayala, and I was so excited, and I really experimented. What is this cash in? Is it cash in? Cash in? Lagyan ng cash yung GCash ko, or can I withdraw from my GCash and get some money out of it? So my daughter said, "No, mom, it's only for if you want to put cash into your GCash." Is there any way that we can withdraw cash also from our GCash?
Yes. We also have solutions with ATM debit cards, which can be used in ATM machines to withdraw as well. And there are para outlets as well for cashing out.
So you'll not use your phone anymore for
You would
cashing.
not need to use your, if you're using the card, it's like using a debit card as well,
Okay.
ATM debit card.
Then maybe that would be an idea for your, what do you call this? For your ala ATM machine for cashing in. That can also be a cash out, di ba?
Yeah.
That might be happening, and not to use anymore yung ATM card. Okay, another question from an anonymous attendee. Do I even need a business plan if I have a business pitch?
Yes, you would need a business plan, because at the end of the day, because it is business, you would need to look into the margins that you have, the profitability, because there are many ideas out there that are great, but if it's not feasible, if you can't finance it, if you're going to operate at a loss with no horizon in mind as to when you're going to start earning money, that's going to be very hard to pitch. You would need a business plan at one point, but that won't come until first you have your idea and your solution. Then you talk about the feasibility and the resources that you need for it.
Yeah, and I think this is a related question. How do you pitch a small business?
How do you pitch a small business? It goes back to that same question. Who is your audience? What is going to be relevant to them? It's also just like in any conversation, especially those conversations where you need to ask for something. You first frame it to what is relevant to the person. How can they relate first to what my idea is? Because if this is an audience that is too foreign, it might not understand, then there's going to be a long requirement to try to relate first. So that would be the same kind of discipline, I guess, or mindset that you'd have from a small business to a big business, to any kind of, you have to find that relatability first, so you can find your way to bridge to what you're trying to ask from that audience.
So everyone really has to go back to basics. It's just the basic thing
Exactly,
you
the brilliant
need to.
basics, as we would call
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So another question from our audience. Gcash has the resources to give product offerings under a master brand. How can you pitch a product without it overwhelming the audience with features?
The way to do that is, again, to be able to know what is relevant here. If all those features that you have aren't relevant to what you need to present, then you can cut that down. If, for example, you still need to present, say, all those features or all that information, you look within those clusters of information. What's the most important thing? A practice that we would have as well is just what's one sentence I can say for each of these key points. Because that's actually where the overwhelming part comes, when you have a whole paragraph for just one point. But if you can say it all in one point for each, that's the easiest way to digest it. But taking a step back from that, all the points that you have, be it if you're going to run through a list of features to a list of maybe key asks, how do they all talk to each other as one whole conversation? It's just like coming up with an outline or a script. How are they relevant? If you find any that are irrelevant, maybe that's something you might need to remove from your pitch.
And that is actually what you did earlier. All right. This one is interesting. How do you differentiate yourself to your competitors? What are your edge against primary competitors like Paymaya?
Thank you. That's a question we ask ourselves every day. Obviously, in the brand marketing industry, that's something we always have to ask, and that goes again. It goes as well back to some basics for marketing, from brand development and brand building. It's when you launch the brand, or if your brand is already launched, you always have to look into review. Am I competitive with my different parts of my marketing mix? Is my price still competitive? Is my proposition still competitive and unique versus the competition? There's no single answer for how we differentiate it, but rather it's always looking at those moving parts. If you're looking at it as columns of a marketing mix, you look at each of them. Which one here is okay? Which one here needs more attention? Which one needs to be reviewed or refreshed? So there's a lot of moving parts. There will never be one whole answer as to how you can always make yourself competitive. It's more of the mindset and the practice of always looking at what's competition doing, but also where is the market going? Are we addressing the market? Are we staying within our space, or do we need to start encroaching into a new space to find a bigger business maybe?
Yeah, and I think this next question is related to that. From an anonymous attendee, did you find out the answer why over 34 million Filipino adults do not have a bank account?
Yeah, that it came with looking into the industry. Many Filipinos would actually they cancel themselves out from the process already of trying to apply for formal lending solutions, because either they don't feel that they have the qualifications for it, or they actually don't have those qualifications. Thus, many would rely on more familiar solutions, yung informal solutions as mentioned earlier. And that was the cycle that we were seeing. Yes, there were many solutions already offered by formal institutions, but because many Filipinos either felt they couldn't qualify or they actually didn't qualify, it just perpetuated the whole dynamic of relying on informal solutions.
Hmm. How could people tend to trust, not to immediately trust solutions, especially when it involves their life savings, diba? So how would you kind of like let them move their savings, or just kind of like teach our students to save first, no, in Gcash, and or invest, because you have G Invest, diba? So that
Yes.
they would be able to save up for their future. Some students are really good in saving up their allowances, and they do it in cash.
Yes.
because they get their allowances through the Villiers or through Palawan Express, and then they just hide it in their wallet or stash it under the bed. So probably this is something that could teach our students how to save, and it's really nice. No, even when I was a student, I had my own bank book because my lola opened an account for all of us. And every time I put in like 50 pesos, Banco Filipino pa yon, I was so excited. So now in GCash, you can actually see your transactions, di ba? And you already could see that you have this so much money and you try not to spend it. So others would open two GCash accounts, especially yung may dual SIM, no? May dual SIM sila if they have Android, and they have GCash accounts for each SIM, and one would be their really wallet because that's where they will spend, and they move money to the second SIM as their savings. So that's a pretty good idea actually for our students who are here. You can also do that. Now, to our next question. What's the best platform to use where innovators like us, so this is coming from innovators, can pitch our ideas or business plans and attract investors?
I might not have um the answer you're looking for exactly here for this one. But I think for looking at it, it's also about networking. It's knowing the avenues that you could go into. People look into communities, such as something set up like this. You could figure out the different organizers. You could look into the different people that you might know who are affiliated with different organizations or communities. And from there, that's also part of, I guess, the research that you would do as someone who'd need to pitch it. And in doing so, you'd have to also ask yourself what kind of space or who are the people I'd want to work with. There you'd already kind of have a filter. Okay, I need to look into these kind of communities, these kinds of groups or organizations. And from there, that's where the networking comes in, I guess. Talking to the people you might need to, reaching out. Platforms such as LinkedIn as well is a good way to easily just scroll through and see different platforms. Facebook groups that might be having events as well, are other ways to look into it. But the short answer is really first asking yourself, where do I need to go? What's the space I need to enter, and who are the kind of people I want to work with first and foremost? Because you also don't want to just put yourself out there to maybe everyone, and you're going to then have the problem of having to cut down through everything when really you could also just had already an objective in mind. These are the kind of people I need to get, and that will keep your focus as to what you need to work for.
Okay, I'm not so sure what this attendee means by his question or her question. Should we prioritize story over technicalities?
No, they go hand in hand. The story is the way that you would get all these technicalities and all your info, um, to be turned into a conversation, to be turned into something relatable. But at the same time, a story won't make sense if there's no truth to it. There's no actual hard ground evidence for the points you're trying to make. So they go hand in hand. One of our teammates points it out as logic and magic, and they have to go hand in hand, really. Your storytelling will only really make sense when you have your solid points, and your solid points will only make sense when you arrange it in a way that you're as if you can speak about it with a friend.
Well said. And that's the most basic thing to follow, diba? That process and that thought process that you would be able to be confident when you tell your story and the technicalities that go with it. All right. Another uh, we have so much time for Q&A. I hope you don't mind.
Sure.
We are abusing you. Okay. You've mentioned a while ago that GCash is now the number one e-wallet in the country. Do you have a counter measure for new e-wallets that are starting to get recognized and expand in other countries?
Um, for looking into other countries, we do look at them, but we also take it with a grain of salt because a difference is the cultural adaptation to it as well. Other countries might adapt e-wallets or digital solutions a different way from the Philippines. Um, but off the bat, we would obviously look into our regional neighbors within Southeast Asia. How do they penetrate, and we can take lessons from there. But within expanding in the Philippines, as competitors arise as well, one way to also look at it is that many Filipinos are still unbanked and many still lack that financial literacy. And with the opening of different competitors, it's actually still creating the pie of the whole business. The biggest enemy here is still cash, I would say. Many Filipinos are still cash heavy, and that comes with the infrastructure of rolling out more internet access. So that comes. So a part of it is actually looking at how competitors open up the market with us, because at the end of the day, we are still going against the same competitor of cash. But we still keep in mind, how are they penetrating? Where are the areas that they're penetrating? Should we be playing there? Is it something we need to protect? Um, so it's an everyday view of looking at it.
Yeah, but I think you already have a partnership, no? Because we had a GoFund through a GCash account, and someone from Canada sent through an app to GCash. I forgot the
Yes, we have partnerships from with different companies around the world as well. One notable one is with Alipay, wherein you could use the different QR codes in different countries to pay, but you're using your GCash account. We have one friend who was able to pay in Japan. They saw the Alipay QR code there, and they just used their GCash account in another country to pay for it, as well as the overseas solutions that we have for remittance as well, partnering with these different institutions from different countries as well, to be able to send money back to the Philippines.
Yeah, they sent money using that app and landed on our GoFund GCash account. That was pretty cool. So another question from an anonymous attendee. Hello, how do we make sure that online businesses such as GCash is secured from internet threats?
So one thing to understand is the difference between the likes of phishing or being tricked or manipulated from giving your information versus actually being breached. Gcash is very safe on that second part about the safety and the hacking, but on the part of giving access to your information to someone who might be posing as a Gcash representative, is something we always push out, but at the same time, it's always back to the user themselves. It's basic security methods for yourself to never give, say, your password or giving your information to someone who is not verified. The other half of the effort is really on the user as well, to make sure, am I on the correct channel? Is this an official channel I'm talking to? One way you could put it is like giving your password to online is the same way as giving away your ATM card to someone and telling them your PIN.
Yes.
So that was also on the user. So that part of it is having that vigilance as well, which we also advocate for.
Yeah, GCash would have all the firewalls and all, but if the user themselves is not careful, they click the link, then it would take them to another site that would get their basic information, and then they would technically we would say that their account will be hacked, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So we need to be very careful, and that's the reason probably why NTC has this ruling now that we cannot even send links over text messages, because I have experienced so many times to have sent links, my email address, and the receiver never received it just because it was a link. So now when we want to send a link, we don't create that message that would result as a link. Let's say, for example, if you would like to say, oh, go to their website, www, instead of putting dot, you put a space, and then their name, and then space, instead of .com, space com. And you would just say, just use that website and type it. Don't copy it, but use that website, something like that. Okay. Now another question from an anonymous attendee: how much or percentage of a company's budget should be allotted for customer acquisition?
Um, there's also no direct answer for this. It's identifying at what phase in the growth cycle your company or business is at. When you're starting out, you will shift heavier budget to acquisition because you're a new player to the game. You need to convince people, and one of the quickest way is acquisition, promos, offers. But as you start to mature and the pull going into your business is now stronger, then you could lessen then your acquisition depending on where you want to be. If you're going against a certain benchmark of how you're trying to grow, that will be one way to look as an indicator for how much more acquisition budget you might need. But just like many companies, when you start out, you'll probably have a higher budget or resource for acquisition efforts. And as you mature, that would level out to maybe more loyalty or retention programs.
Hmm. Okay. Another question: how to best validate an insight from researching a problem? In the case of GCash, you were able to see that there is a problem in informal lending and was able to match a solution that was well received.
Yeah. It depends on the resources you might have at hand. Within GCash, we have a research team, and we partner with different agencies as well to help us with our research efforts. But if you're starting out, this may be as simple as doing the research yourself. There are also many platforms online that either offer subscription-based or one-off payment for access to different research. But there's also as well public research from the government as well that you could use to see where the current trend or where the industries are that you could look into. And then when you have more ideas, that's where you could look into what are other ways I could maybe answer more questions I have in my head. And that's where you look into either maybe these subscription platforms or trying to contract with an agency, or maybe even trying to conduct the research yourself if it's a more informal method and a quicker topic that you might need to look into.
All right. Um, another. I think we're down to our last two questions. From an anonymous attendee: do you have recommendations for tools that can help in creating business models, especially in answering who am I pitching to?
Yeah, you could use this this afternoon as a tool. The framework is still the same. It's understanding who is your audience, who what do they need, what's relevant to them, and what is the key ask that I'm asking from them. That's the You will find that as the basic for any tool as to how to pitch a business model.
And how can you make your concept stand out or unique from others?
So that's when you first start out your concept, you have to be honest with yourself as to what's the space that in the industry that I'm playing in, because that will be the same reference you're going to have whenever you review your concept, whenever you review your idea, after you launch, a year after, years after. Am I still relevant within the same space that I told myself I'm going to be playing within? Or am I trying to go into a new space already? Then you can look into either do you have to evolve now in your concept? Do you have to go back to the basics because you're losing in what you originally tried to launch in? That's the most key part. You have to have that reference point as to what are you measuring against first, and then you look into comparing yourself within that reference point.
Or is it the time to stop?
Or is it a time to stop?
Because
Maybe.
you're wasting money,
Yeah,
money and resources. Oh, me.
exactly.
Huling hirit. What are
Yeah.
some tips in building a network for your business, especially finding people?
In every place you go, there may always be opportunity. From college to when you start working, or even within your immediate circle. It's a very human thing at the end of the day. It's getting to know the people that you're surrounding yourself with, the people that you work with, because no one's going to spoon serve you all the answers right away. Part of it is also just looking out, actually connecting with people, talking to them, knowing what they do, what are other things that they contribute or work with. That's a simple start, an everyday tip as well, I guess, to growing your network and just expanding the reach that you can have and the people by looking at the people you're already around.
Well, well. We have had so many questions, and even
Thank you.
though we would like to entertain more questions, we're running out of time. But I know you're with someone from GCash, Miss Gianna Anasco. Would you be able to join us, please? GCash has a lot of job
Hi.
opportunities as well. So why don't we uh, ask our audience if, or tell our audience rather, to have a pitch of themselves so they can join GCash. Gianna.
Yes. So I hope you guys learned a lot from Gabo today. No, I myself did. And definitely we wouldn't let this opportunity pass without us having to invite you to join the G Nation or the Gcash Barkada as we call it now. So I'd like to align with you guys some initiatives that we have both for early careers and our seasoned professionals here in the audience today. So starting off with our early careers, we have a lot lined up for this year. Starting with the Imagination Innovation Challenge happening this April, the Jumpstart Internship Program happening in May, the Aspire Management Development Program, and the FinTech Engineer Cadetship Program in quarter 3 to quarter 4. No? So what I'd like to highlight though today is our upcoming Imagination or the GCash Innovation Challenge. So this is a 3-day case competition, and we are looking for the best, most creative, and most innovative young talents to help to help shape the future of fintech. So gather your friends as early as now. This is going to be a group application, and watch out for announcements this coming April. So you'll get exciting cash prizes, premium merchandise, mentorship, and perks for internship or employment opportunities in GCash. No? So watch out for this. We're going to be releasing some marketing materials for Imagination soon. And then for our seasoned professionals here in the audience today, we highly encourage you guys to check out all our openings in our LinkedIn page. So it's GCash and LinkedIn. You can also check out We Are GCash on Facebook. And if you guys are already prepared to submit your resumes and perhaps sign up for any of our programs mentioned earlier, or any openings that we might have, feel free to take note of the contact details in this deck here. So yeah, I'm also looking forward to connecting with you on LinkedIn if ever. So feel free to also save my contact here. So yeah, that's about it. Very quick lang for me. Thanks everyone.
Thank you so much, Gianna. And everyone just visit the social media pages of GCash and you would be able to see all the details there. So thank you so much, Gabo and
Thank
Gianna.
you so much for having
So
me.
let's not forget the 3 basic steps in business model creation and pitch. 1, what's my idea? 2, how do I make money out of that idea? And 3, who am I pitching to? All right, thank you so much to our
Thank you.
audience and innovators. You may send your questions again to our next speaker using the Q&A box, the comment section. To those who are joining Facebook and YouTube Live, our speaker will answer your question right after his discussion. Again, let us all acknowledge our sponsor for making this event a successful one. Thank you so much, OC Tanner, for your invaluable contribution to our second PMAP Innovation Hackathon. We are truly grateful for your support. We are on to our second topic for today on pitch design. Our speaker started Kinetic Slides to be part of the solution to the growing housing demand in the US. He left his corporate job as a C-level presentation designer to help real estate syndicators raise equity using million-dollar pitch decks. Wow. With only 2 years in operation, his agency was able to work with various real estate deal sponsors to raise over $300 million equity to buy and rehabilitate apartment buildings. He envisions a world free from deadly PowerPoint slides that kill your chances of winning the pitch. He leads a team of 8 designers in transforming boring presentations into visually compelling slide decks. Today, they energize pitch decks, sales presentations, company overviews, webinar presentations, conference presentations, and even digital flyers. He then started to penetrate the multi-family syndication submarket by working with and gaining the trust of top-notch coaches and authority figures in the space. He graduated with an industrial engineering degree, but is currently enrolled in his second degree, Bachelor of Science in Real Estate Management, with the aspiration of becoming a real estate broker someday. He spends his free time reading capital raising books and teaching music to small church choir in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, let us welcome founder and creative director of Kinetic Slides, Mr. Kevin, Captain Kinetic himself, Summer Bang.
Hey everybody, it's such an honor.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon. Parang napakabigatin naman yung introduction. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you so much,
Hi.
Vicky. So I'll go ahead and share screen.
Yes, please.
Share screen. I never knew about this organization until, Margot invited me to be one of the speakers. So Margot, thank you so much. I owe it to you. I think I'm having trouble sharing screen. There we go.
There. We can see it now.
All right. I'm just gonna wait for a quick seconds of reaction. Okay. Once again, it's such an honor to be part of this event, and I'm hoping you'll get tons of value from this. For those of you who have failed to type amen, it's either you have issues with your device or you are not beautiful but pogi. Diba? Either way, I believe the creator did everything beautiful. Today, we will not talk about inner beauty. Okay. We will talk about the communication, the common pitch deck mistakes. We will learn how to break the common pitch deck mistakes that might kill your chances of winning, right? So it's not about talking about how to navigate Canva or any specific tool, right? But we will learn about the essentials of a winning pitch decks, because these principles can elevate your pitch deck regardless of the tool you use. As the leader of a presentation design agency, I've learned that the secret of a winning pitch deck is really not the tool we use. And honestly, some of you can win this competition without a pitch deck. But for those who are fans of, Shark Tank, you guys might know that, right? You might have noticed that some of the startups do not have pitch decks. But when they do, their chances of raising capital increases dramatically and becomes faster. At Kinetic Slice, we pride ourselves with pitch decks that raise up to 50 million US dollar per round from people who keep on coming back or referring our service. And the reason why we keep on getting referrals is not just the result our clients get, but the tool we use. We use PowerPoint. Okay, kasi editable, madali lang mag-edit. Even our fifth graders can edit using PowerPoint, right? So, but the question is it because we use PowerPoint that they were able to raise millions of dollars? Of course not, right? It's the overall idea, the preparation, and the lots of works they put into their craft. The pitch deck is only a tool which can help you communicate your idea or product to potential investors or even partners, right? The ultimate goal of pitch deck is funding, of course. Yeah. However, winning the hard-earned money of the investors or the companies, the partner companies, is not as easy as we'd like to think. Why? Because we are dealing with emotions that are backed by logic. And your pitch can definitely help you gain the trust of your audience. That is if you effectively communicate your winning ideas, right? Let's cut to the chase and learn about the essential elements of a winning pitch deck. You have content, visual, and delivery. So when we say the content, this is your story. It's laid out in a format that starts with a catchy intro, right? Dapat una pa lang susunggaban mo na agad yung attention ng audience mo. And it ends with an engaging call to action. So in your case, I kind of read about this competition, this hackathon, right?
So I feel like a good call to action spiel might be somewhere along the lines of, um, will you join us eradicate the problem to boost employee experience with this product or with this service? Diba? Very engaging stuff. Going back to the content, I know that the competition requires the participant to use a specific format, right? The SICOA capital. So let's keep it simple and follow the sequence. I want I want you to ask yourself some of the questions that I'll be flashing to get a clearer idea of how you visualize your thoughts in each slide. So let's start with the company or the team purpose, right? So in as little possible words that you can use, ask yourself, what is the ultimate definition of your company or team? And you can do so by following the two examples that I'm about to show you. All right. So the first example, the format, is to name your product or service. Let me enable my highlighter or laser point right here. And in this case, it's business productivity automation. Checking the time. And just below that, you can use a short description of what this title is all about. And in this case, it's an API infrastructure, right? And lastly, you have a grade 5 description, or what we call the layman's term, right? So what does this business productivity automation do? Or this company does, right? They make the world more productive. So as simple as that. So that's the first format. Now the second suggested format is to have a punchy statement. So in this case, perfect, right? It's a company who want to solve one polarizing and divisive question of all time, the chicken and egg problem. Diba? Solving the chicken and egg problem. Very catchy. All right? Listen natin because we only have 30 minutes. Now, the second slide in the SICOA capital format is what we call the problem slide. Problem slide. And you want to ask yourself this question: how significant and relevant is the problem you want to solve? Right? So since we are in the human, how do you say, social aspects, HR kayo, di ba? Let me give you a good example, which is kind of related to social dating. Okay. So the problem is ghosting, catfishing, and gaslighting. These are like the three major complaints in dating, right? So it's very simple. You can just use these words included with a an icon that is related to that, or you can also use or you can also ask yourself, what is the impact of the problem if left unsolved? This way, you could create a sense of, impact. Bakit nga ba natin kailangang i-address tong HR problem na to? Ano ba yung magiging cost nito financially sa company? Ano ba yung magiging cost nito sa buong brand? Right? So an example related to that dating thing is this one. So in this example, what is the impact of the problem if left unsolved? The answer is more women's life and safety will be at stake. Diba? Very simple siya. But you have these stats over here to back it up. Ganon. US context pala to, so hindi siya applicable sa ating mga Pinoy. Now, going on the third slide is the solution slide. How is the solution innovative? You can include some of the features and benefits in your slides, but you don't have to, you don't want to crowd it with lots of information. An example would be this one. So this is the solution. It's a filter that provides a solution for the top 3 dating complaints. Okay? Na meron daw silang user's reputation. So if you meet someone after the meeting, you rate him or her. Di ba? Parang ganun. That way, kapag magmamatch sa susunod na mga tao, at least they have like a review, so that they would trust their instincts even more once they read these reviews. So ganun daw yung solution nila. The next slide would be why now, right? Was there a change in the market or the industry? That's why you have this solution or product? Or is it out of urgency? Meron bang nagbabadyang panganib? Or is it a competitive landscape, meaning you want to have more or a third or a fourth or a fifth party in a competition, right? Just to break the monopoly or duopoly, right? So in the case of the startup who wants to literally solve the chicken egg problem, they use the why now slide to create a sense of urgency. Because apparently, take a look at this. Eggs are the most popular animal protein. Di ba? So, sometime in the future, pag hindi naalagaan yung mga manok, because of animal cruelty and stuff, nasobrahan sila ng paglilay ng eggs, baka wala nang susunod na mga chickens to lay more eggs. Ganon. So, they're creating urgency using the why now slide. And that's what you can do also. So, the next one would be the market potential. How big is the total addressable market? The TAM. Diba? Bakit importante itong market potential slide? First of all, your audience, usually investors, want to grow their money, right? And the general rule of growing money or investing is that investors are attracted to ideas that solves problems of the many, not the few. Okay? I'll give you an example. Dating up ulit. Okay? Online dating is here to stay. So parang ini-emphasize na niya agad right off the bat na, hey, hindi tayo mawawalan ng market dahil maraming gumagamit ng dating apps, right? And not just that, he included like a forecast of the CAGR or the compound annual growth rate of this market. And since it is in the US, sabi nila, according to forecast, there is 5% uh, CAGR, right? CAGR. This is promising. Kung ako yung makikinig dito na investor, I would say na, oh, this is a possible investment for me, right? So that's what you can do for the market potential. Okay, balikan ko lang ito. Just in case wala kayong mahanap na mga statistics related to the market, right? What you can do is to use statements from people who are using the competition or the competitors' products or service, what they are saying, and if it's promising, if it's something that is going to be used in the next 5-10 years, you can use those statements. Yun ay kung wala tayong mahanap ng mga data to back up our forecast in the next 5-10 years. All right. So for the competition, the next slide is the competition or the alternatives. Okay, this is interesting because one of the sharks in Shark Tank is John. Si John, yung Black American. Ang pinaka-hate niya talaga sa mga nagpipitch is saying that they don't have competition. Because here's the thing, wala man exactly na product or service yung ino-offer mo sa market, there can be an alternative, right? So that is also a threat. That single alternative is a threat. And for the competition slide, you want to clearly distinguish the key features that separates your products from the competition. It can be through a table or a few descriptive words. Now, if you want to use a table, you can use just the names or the logos, and then below it, kung ano yung mga factors or categories that you want to compare from startup to startup or product to product. In this case, kinompare nila yung price, yung service, yung features, at saka yung differentiation, the USP, unique selling proposition. Right? So that's it for the competition. Let's move on. Sa business model, how do you make money? Ito naman yung ultimate question. Yes, maganda yung idea mo, maganda yung market, but how do we create revenue, right? So that the investors can have their return. So by the time we finish explaining the competition, investors are curious to know how their money can grow. And this is where the business model comes in. So the question that you need to ask is, how do I bring revenue to the table? Right? Now, it can be in the form of subscription, in the form of one-time payment, or is your product, ano tawag doon? Consumable. Tapos, if it's consumable, what is like the demand like? And how much is one piece? And how much do you, I don't think it's relevant, no? Kasi ito yung pinag-uusapan natin. But just for the sake of having idea, how much do you spend to make it and how much do you sell it for? to know the profit margin. All right. Another important slide under the Sequoia Capital format is the team. So in this slide, you want to stress or you want to talk about the background and the strength of each team member, right? So this is just an example. I don't think we need to elaborate on this one, right? As you can see, they don't need to put like bullets under the names, okay? Because the thing is, when you're giving a pitch, right? And in this competition, you only have 10 minutes to pitch. That's how fast a pitch should be, right? You don't want them to read the pitch deck. You want your audience to listen to you and at the same time refer to your pitch deck, your presentation material for faster comprehension. And that's how you can build trust. When you explain to them using your words and then show to them using effective visuals and it creates trust, the more likely na magtatanong pa sila, mas magiging interested pa sila to know more about your product or service. Next to the team slides is the financials, right? At the end of the slides, makapag-share lang ako, we are usually dealing with investment summaries, real estate investment summaries. They provide a clear numerical projection of a specific investment range. Let's say, for instance, the usual amount that people invest in real estate is 50,000 US dollars. Yun. Now, at the end of, let's say, 7 years, how much will the money be? Or ilang percent yung magiging increase niya? Ganon siya. Applying that concept here, financial projection is not so applicable actually with your case. Kasi hindi naman tayo it's a different context, right? But the equivalent slide would be the ask slide, ASK. And some would say this is the sources and uses slide. And in this slide, you want to ask yourself, how much are you raising and what do you need it for? Okay, so you lay down kung magkano, di ba? Sir Gibo mentioned that you have to be very clear on what is it that you're asking. Clarity. So that you can visualize it very simply. So in this case, the dating app, they want to ask for 1 million US dollars. And in the first year, they will use it to hire a programmer, the CEO, the marketing, the language conversion, and the operations. Ganon. So it's good if you have this so that, magkaroon ng trust pa yung audience nyo and they would say na, oh, this thing is prepared. You know how much is needed for the programmer or the CEO or the marketing, right? Being prepared comes very handy in gaining trust. Okay. All right, that's the ask slide. And lastly, the vision slide. So the question is, if all goes well, what will you have built in the next 5 years? This needs to be a statement directly related to your problem, to the problem that you are solving, and what your product is all about. Kailangan tahi-tahi siya. Hindi pwede na you're talking about dating and catfishing and stuff. Tapos, the vision would be to create a safe space for Grab riders. Parang ganun. What? Entirely different, right? So in this example, let me show you. This is related to the chicken egg problem. The perfect, right? And what is their vision? Their vision is the company wants to address the cruelty to chicken and the unsustainability of using chicken for protein resource, right? That's the problem. And the vision is to be ambitiously kind to people, animals, and the planet. Okay? And remember the call to action slide I mentioned a while ago? You want to end the vision slide with a really strong call to action. Na parang, will you join us? Ambitiously be kind to people, animal, and planet. Ganun. Instead of just saying, thank you. That's our pitch. Diba? Ang boring. So you wanted to make it more, we know that investments are about money, right? But people also, the high net worth individuals or even companies want to improve their brand, right? Improve how people perceive them by doing an honorable feat. And in this case, gusto nilang gawin yung maging ambitiously kind to people. Imagine mo na lang na yung partners mo, mapapanews sa Philippine Daily Inquirer, and then the newspaper would say, Philippine Daily Inquirer is like the first ever private company to support being ambitiously kind to people, animals, and planet. Di ba? Swak na swak para sa mga brands. And this, you can use this too, you can adapt this too. So much for that, guys. That is just the content. Remember, we're going to talk about the essential elements of a winning pitch deck, and we have three. The first one is the content. We just specified each of the 10 slides under the Sikoa Capital format. And now, this is where our specialty comes in, the visual, right? So, in the first place, bakit ba natin kailangan mag-invest sa visual? Pwede namang ipakita mo lang, di ba? Just paste some words there or images there. Tapos okay na. Importante naman, may makita sila. No. Okay? This section teaches you how to utilize your slides for faster audience comprehension. That's the key. And when you teach people or impart knowledge to people faster, the faster also that they are likely to trust you. Because unang-una sa lahat, even as consumers, right? We don't buy something that we don't understand. Kailangan alam na alam natin. And here's the thing, psychology, di ba? Kung naiintindihan mo yung isang complex na bagay because it was simplified very nicely, parang feeling mo ang tali-talino mo, di ba? So the same thing with your audience, with the investors, or with the companies. If they feel like, uy, nagets ko agad yung gusto mong sabihin, nagets ko agad yung vision mo, parang feel good sa kanila. Gets niyo yun? So the relationship will be bonded even further just because you know how to impart knowledge and build trust using that skill. Okay. Again, why do we need to invest time and effort to make our presentation look good? It's the same thing as meeting investors in your best demeanor. Hindi ka naman pupunta na mag-pitch, right? During your actual pitch presentation, hindi ka naman nakapunta doon na naka-shorts lang. Unless you are selling something na related sa beach vibe or Hawaiian vibe, right? But it doesn't work that way. You want good impression. You don't want anything to turn the audience off with a detail that would give you an impression of unpreparedness or being unqualified. Kasi kahit yung small details dyan, wrong grammar, maling spelling, that would be enough para isipin ng audience na, ay, hindi to amateur to mga to, unprofessional to mga to. Okay? And under the visual, marami tayong pwedeng pag-usapan, right? The graphic design, like what are the elements of graphic design? Yung texture, color, size, proportion, pattern, ang dami. But we need to compress them into three categories. And these three categories are, first, the visual brand consistency, the communication design, and simplicity. Okay, let's start with the brand consistency. Ano ba tong brand consistency na sinasabi ko? Okay, all slides need to look and feel the same. Okay, so if you're sticking with a yellow, teal, and black color scheme, just like what I'm doing now, mas maganda na i-maintain mo siya all throughout the slides. And if you're going to use icons, images, tables, and charts, you should use the same color palette para pare-pareho siya ng look and feel. Okay, what happens if you don't? Okay, the slide is gonna look like a collage of random colors. Okay, what now kung collage of colors siya? Ano ngayon yung impact niya sa perception ng tao sa akin, yung brand ko, di ba? I'll tell you, anything that looks inconsistent is cheap. Di ba? You want to come across your audience as premium. That's the reason why when you go to Starbucks, right now I'm at a cafe, di ba? And I can see how it's called Workplace Cafe, very near to Cebu Airport, Mactan. And when you see their marketing collaterals, everything flows the same, from the colors to the use of logo, use of imagery, pare-pareho yan. Same icons, pare-pareho yan. Why? Because they want to establish a good image, a consistent image. And when you are consistent, you become more visually professional. Ganon siya. Nakakabudol talaga yung pagiging premium, pagiging consistent. Okay. Let me give you some of the examples. These are actual slides that we built using under Kinetic Slides. So if ever you have a website built within your color palette, just like what I'm showing you right now, this is our client, make sure that you follow the same color palette in your pitch deck. Okay? So the usage of their logo, parehas, yung font nila parehas sa website, and the look and feel is parehas. Let me just move through these quickly kasi marami pa tayong examples. Another one, the website looks similar or consistent to the slide. Oh, the other way around. The slide is consistent to the website, even for this next example. Right? And I've shown you a while ago yung mga slides ng dating app, right? So if I show them to you in just a snap, here's how it looks. What you notice is that there are a lot of greens, like 60 or 40 to 60% of the slide space uses color green. That's also a nice note. The color proportion needs to be consistent as well. Maging geek lang tayo ng konti, okay? These details help, again, you to become perceived as a professional, ready, di ba? And in return, you would be perceived as a trusted authority. Nakakabudol kasi talaga yung ganitong attention to detail. And one tool that would help you eliminate yung nitty-gritty of making your slides look consistent is with the use of Canva. Right? May free naman siya. Pwede ka rin mag-subscribe sa premium version if you want. But Canva is really a good tool that simplifies the job of keeping the slides consistently appear the same. So as you can see naman, di ba? Okay. In order for me to stress the fails, the epic fails of the slides na dinesign namin, let me give you the before and after look of a few slides. Okay, we're talking about the communication design. When you say communication design, this means aiding your audience to look at a specific detail in a specific sequence or hierarchy. Diba? Ano ba yung gusto mong tingnan nila first sa slide mo, second, and then third? Usually ganun lang siya, up to 3 lang. Kung meron bang pang-apat, those are just, you know, the footnotes like source, ganyan, or asterisk. This was taken based on the forecast of blah, 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 ganyan. So I will give you tip, and the tip related to this slide is to guide your audience on where to look first using the right font size. So in this case, punta tayo sa before. Ang una kong natingnan dito when I was assessing this is the image. Una sa lahat, sobrang laki kasi ng image. And then the next is this line, the problem. Today's businesses are broken. And then this one. And I don't even want to read this. It's overwhelming because ang hahaba, right? Now what we did is to declutter and simplify, because communication design and simplicity works hand in hand. And generally, a slide that looks decluttered communicates better. Okay, so let me show you what we did. Actually, napakita ko na, di ba? Okay. So ngayon, the first thing that I see now is eto. Today's businesses are broken. Instead of the image, instead of this one. So you want to establish the problem muna, agad-agad. Then, you can go talk about the 6 different problems in today's businesses. Yun. Decluttered. The next one, the tip that I'm going to give you is to remove the unnecessary detail. Let me just block it out para pakinggan yung napakaganda kong boses. Okay, to remove unnecessary detail. And in this case, it's the experience of the team in the army. Okay, balik natin yung slide. Zoom ko lang po ha para makita natin. Where's the zoom function? Anyway, in this section, you can see my tank, di ba? Army tank. I was asking myself, what is the spiel sa client? I was asking the client, ano po yung spiel na related to this one? And then he mentioned na, kasi I want to show them my leadership ability. Kasi meron akong experience sa army. Sabi nga, okay. That's a good point. That's a good point to add in your spiel, but not necessarily on your slide. Sabi ko sa kanya. So what we did was to take it off and just focus on um, on the stats that would make the team look qualified for what they're supposed to do, right? And then add a forecast of what happens in the future. This is the total market, 3.1 billion, and that's a huge amount. So that's the tip. Remove anything that you can actually say using your spill. Because again, the general idea is you want them to hear you and you don't want them to read your presentation. The slides is just a guide for them so that they would understand faster what you're trying to say. Okay, next example tayo. Still in the communication design. The before, sayang hindi ko ma-zoom siya. The before is too long, right? You don't even want to read it. First of all, ang cluttered ng background. Sorry, masyado akong ginajudge, pero ganito talaga yung kailangan mong mindset. Kailangan mong i-judge talaga yung mga pangit na slides para magkaroon ng medyo decent na output. And sana magkaroon kayo ng ganung mentality na, okay, you've created your pitch deck, you've designed it. Let's be critical now. Do you feel like this lengthy phrase is a value add to your audience? Because if not, I suggest you use concise phrases. The goal again is faster comprehension, which breeds trust. Okay. More examples. The use of imagery. So for this one, they just gave us a naked slide. We deal with lots of real estate pitch decks. And so we want to know, ano ba yung category or what is the real estate type, tama ba? Category ng buildings or ng real estate na dinideal ng Cormark Capital. And we know that they are residential and they are apartment. So we chose an apartment image. Similarly, if you're talking to an audience of an Asian descent, right? And there's a product, like an HR product you want to use for them to experience better employee experience, diba? You're not going to use Caucasian pictures. You're going to use Asian pictures. That's how the suitable imagery helps in determining or giving context to your audience. Another example of the use of suitable imagery. Okay, you want your audience to be comfortable or to know the investments that are the investments every entrepreneur should make before an exit. Okay, why is this important? Bakit kailangan mong i-solidify muna yung exit strategy mo before you jump into an investment? Because kapag wala kang right na exit, may hirapan kang ibalik yung capital na nilagay mo, yung pinuhunan mo, kung hindi pala siya nag-work, right? And on the other side, kapag maganda yung exit mo, hayahay ang buhay. And so the phrase hayahay ang buhay, that became our main phrase in considering the imagery that we need to use for this slide. And that's what you need to do also. Ano ba yung emotions na gusto mong ma-insight sa audience mo using the imagery? So if you want them to feel heavy, let's say, siguro sa problem slide or something, look for an image that is heavy para mas maramdaman nila yung bigat, yung urgency ng problema. But in this case, we want them to feel na, uy, relaxing if you have a good exit. That's why we use a common man na nakaka-chill lang. Ganun. Again, imagery. And these are just some of the examples na ginawa pa namin. Wealthy and empowered women. Of course, you're not gonna put something na depressed dyan, di ba? Secrets to investing and passive placements. Private placements. Siyempre, if you know the secrets, di ba, parang, ooh, may bigla kilig siya. Ganon. So, choice of imagery. Another choice of imagery pa rin, suitable imagery. We place a family picture because first and foremost, they want to pitch a family, which is the Brewer family. Next one, if you're using um, cluttered images, you want to make sure that all the elements within that image pops out. Okay, para hindi mahirapan yung client or yung audience na asan ba dyan yung property na i-deal natin, na pag-i-investan natin. Is it this one? Ito pala. Ganun. When you make it easier for them, again, trust. Okay? Focusing on the right subjects. Next one, visualization. To visualize your data. Because before, it's just a table. Okay? It doesn't speak really interestingly sa akin. Wala siyang insights. Okay? Even if may mga growth rates dito sa gilid. Pero you can make it even better by using a chart. And now you can see that there's a pattern. From this year, 2014, nag-start na siya umangat ulit. Okay? Until 2021. And then you can put a few blurb here just to summarize kung ano yung main na points na gusto mong ihatid sa audience mo. Okay, those are just a few examples of design fails. I think we have a few more, but let me just check the time briefly. Okay, we still have.
You're good. You still have actually 15 minutes.
All right, cool, perfect, awesome. So design fail pa more. Okay, this one. Let me just give you a quick context. We usually do two types of decks for real estate clients. The first one is a general pitch deck, which talks about why real estate investing is a good investment vehicle. And the next one is why this property is a good investment vehicle. Okay? May pagkakapareho sila, pero the biggest difference is the first one is generic, the second one is specific property. And in this case, the fail is they want to talk about the Empire Lofts, which is the name of the condo or apartment. So, why are you putting this city of, I don't know, this is New York City, right? So we have to show them the property. Okay ba yan? Improve ba yan? Yung itsura niya, okay, may pag-asa nga na if we improve this, if we repaint this, it would look more conducive for living. So this is how we fix the graphics. Another related to that is this one. You don't really want to see the details. Okay? But just because our clients prefer to put all these details, by the way, this is like an investment summary. And usually investment summaries are also functioning as reading materials. That's why you can see a sobrang cluttered siya. But we fixed it and it looked like this now. Okay. This one, which is a more suited example for everybody, is another example of decluttering. So avoid this lengthy phrases. Okay, they need 500,000 to hire this, and so many, another 500,000 to do the software development, and 4 million to fund the merchant cash advance. Okay, what we did was to just make these values or this amount very huge ang bilis makita, and it looks like this now. Okay, the client still wanted all those lengthy words. Okay, sige, pagbigyan natin sila, but that's where the hierarchy comes in. Ano ba talagang gusto mong makita nila? Okay, since it is the ask slide, you want them to see right off the bat kung magkano yung kailangan mong i-raise, which is, in the case of this slide, it's 5 million. So, ewan ko sa inyo, kung sablay yung slide ko, baka iba yung una yung tiningnan. But for my clients, when I showed it to them, sabi nila, okay, effective nga. Let's just stick to making the 5 million na pinaka-dominant sa lahat. Kung hindi man ito yung tinignan mo, pwedeng ito siguro yung tinignan mo. Parehas din, di ba? So the second that you looked on is this one, the breakdown. And kung gusto mo pang malaman, okay, you can read this. Pero since may nagsasalita na, wag mo nang basahin. It's enough na to just listen to the voice of the pitcher, right? Very big difference. Another is being a naked, okay, very simple lang siya, to something that is branded. And also here, remember a while ago yung format number 1? You put a description of what your company is all about. And that's exactly what we did here. We help people invest passively in express car washes. And then we added a car wash, an actual or previous na car wash na inayos ng grupo na ito. So you can make it interesting with the use of images. Again, another is a naked, sobrang boring na ayaw mong basahin to something na branded. Again, this one doesn't just our example doesn't just function as a pitch deck, but also functions as a reading material. At least that's what the client wants, right? But for this competition, since you are speaking live, you don't want to make it a reading material. As much as possible, okay na yung may icon, okay na may a few words. At ikaw yung pagtutunan nila ng pansin because you are the presentation. It's not the PowerPoint. It's not the Canva. Okay? And I'm down to my 2 last slides. The last element of a winning pitch deck is the delivery. So since we only talk about the content and visual, I mean, that's my expertise, right? There are a lot of people who are very well versed in delivering presentations, even without a pitch deck. And the definition of delivery is the usage of your words, your tones, and body movement to deliver your message to move your audience to your desired action. And we're not going to talk about that today. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Once again, I'm Kevin, and we can connect via LinkedIn. If you want to know more about the common pitch techniques, let's connect via LinkedIn. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Captain Kinetic. Captain talaga. So I'm very sure that we have a lot of questions for you. We're simply amazed with the tips and the ideas that you gave. I'm also a Canva user, a heavy Canva user. So I really like it because they do have themes and their elements are really complete if you want to change your imagery from the Caucasians to Asians. And even if you type in gossip, they will put in a lot of photos on gossip. Okay, for our first question coming from an anonymous attendee, what makes a good pitch deck design? Why is pitch deck design so important?
Yeah. So basically, those are what we discussed, right? The 3 essential elements of a winning pitch deck. We have the content, if it's solidified. I'm gonna piggyback about what Gibo mentioned, na kailangan mo maging clear dun sa storytelling mo before you do the visuals. Kasi kahit anong ganda ng presentation mo, kung sablay yung content, kung nakakahilo siya, that's not gonna be trustworthy for your audience, right? And what's the next question again? Deck and why is it important? Okay, why is it important?
Yeah, why is it important?
The currency of pitch or capital raising is trust. It's not about how good, how experienced the people are. Yes, those are factors. Pero kung hindi ka nila trusted, why will they throw their hard-earned money to you, right? So these nitty-gritty of graphic designs can help you boost the trust factor. so that you can bag all, the cash.
Okay. Let's see if we have, let's check the next question, which is a very common question. Will we be provided copies of the slides?
Sure, sure. I can share the PDF copy to Margot, and I believe she can easily distribute to everybody.
Oh, thank you very much, because the imagery alone of your slides cannot be placed on a notebook.
Yeah, exactly.
Although some may have screenshots, but it's really nice to have a copy of your presentation. Very,
You'll
very
get that
nice
for sure.
for a benchmark. All right. And next question is, would you agree that the pitch deck design and or overall design of a project or company directs or heavily affects its success trajectory?
This is a good question. Buti na lang may nakapagtanong na nito. Because honestly, you can actually succeed without a pitch deck, right? But just like what I said a while ago, it's a tool to propel you for success, for faster capital raising. That's why our mantra at Kinetic Slides is raise capital faster with $1 million pitch decks. Because the reality is, bigyan mo ako ng sobrang galing na magpi-pitch, mag-present. Pwede niyang ibenta yung idea ng walang pitch deck, right? But if you have a pitch deck that would complement your spiel, your speaking points, mas mabilis sila mag-gets yung idea, mas mabilis sila magta-trust sa'yo.
Okay. All right. So there's another question here. What applications would you recommend for startups and innovators to use in designing pitch decks? Preferably free ones, sir. You mentioned Canva, di ba?
Yes po. And since you're also using Canva, it's really highly recommended kasi very user-friendly siya. You can easily swap out images. You can with just a quick search, you have plenty of options of imagery to choose from, and even icons. So
Agree. I'm a heavy Canva user, and now with their video, the capability of creating a video as well, that's something that I have started to use because I use Filmora also for video editing. So maybe there are questions coming from our panelists. Please feel free. We do not have questions anymore coming from our attendees. At the Q&A box. Maybe you guys have questions. Please feel free to open your camera and just ask a question. Probably any one of you, like Eric or Veron or Trustee Alma, please feel free. All right. I guess that's about it. Thanks once again, Captain Kinetic, Mr. Kevin Summerbang. We have learned that there are actually 3 essential elements to winning pitch deck, if I understood right. First, it's content. Second is visual. And third is delivery, right? Okay, and for content, let's remember that we need to make sure to include the team, the financials in our pitch presentations. And the most important one is in your vision for the next 5 years, which is related to the problem which you're actually solving and what you are creating. Right, Captain?
that's right, Miss Pinky.
Okay. And for your visuals, this one I really enjoyed. The 3 visual essentials for a winning pitch deck is your visual branding consistency, same color palette, font, theme. You have to be really attentive to those small details because it creates a really large impact. Otherwise, it will look like a colorful collage. You said Canva is a really good tool to use for a presentation that would have themes that you would like. It's free, and if you would like to have more imagery access, then you can. I guess you could get the premium one. It's not that expensive. Second is your communication design, staging what you want your audience to look at. This works hand in hand actually with the third one, which is simplicity. Some tips that we got from the captain is to declutter, remove unnecessary detail from your slides, and focus on what's important for a faster comprehension on the part of your participants. You can use this in your spills, but not in your slides. I really like that. Remember also to use suitable imagery. An example used by our speaker is do not use Caucasians if your pitch is for Asians, diba? Do not use a city if your pitch is for an apartment. Use imagery that would have a huge impact on the message that you want your audience to get. Another example is using charts instead of tables because it shows a trend and it will create a story for your audience. Once again, thank you so much, Captain, for joining us today. We really learned a lot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pinky, Margo, and the entire PMAP family. My pleasure.
Thank you. And good luck on your future projects. Once again, to our audience and innovators, you may send your questions to our speakers or our upcoming speaker using the Q&A box, the comments section. To those who are joining via Facebook or YouTube Live, our speaker will answer your questions right after his discussion. And now we are down to our last discussion, which is patent application and protection. Let's go a little bit technical now. So our speaker is a partner at the Accra Law Offices, a full-service law firm with more than 160 lawyers. Accra Law has offices in Bonifacio Global City, Cebu City, and Davao City. He obtained his law degree from the Ateneo de Manila University. He also has a Master of Laws degree from San Beda University, where he received the Academic Merit Award. He currently teaches various subjects on commercial law, civil law, and public corporation at the Far Eastern University Institute of Law and University of the East College of Law. He also regularly lectures on various topics in the Philippines and abroad. He has previously lectured on patent claim drafting, freedom to operate, infringement, and IP enforcement, trademarks, data privacy, and cyber law. He handles legal matters involving intellectual property law, data privacy, and technology law. He is also a qualified patent agent, having passed the Philippine Intellectual Property Office's patent agent examinations. And he has also completed the advanced course for patent experts in Japan. He is a member of the Intellectual Property Association of the Philippines, the Pharmaceutical Trademarks Group, the Association of Patent Agent Qualifying Exam Passers, ASEAN IP, and the Intellectual Property Alumni Association Incorporated. He is currently a member of the Trademark Committee of the Asian Patent Attorneys Association and the Vice Chair of the Intellectual Property Committee of the Inter-Pacific Bar Association. Friends, it is my honor to introduce partner Angara Abelio Concepcion, Regala and Cruz Law Offices, or what we know as ACRA, Attorney Jose Eduardo Dingdong T. Henilo. Attorney, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Pinky, for the kind introduction. Thank you, of course, to PMAP for inviting us here to provide some information to our audience regarding patents. So let me just share my slides, which unfortunately is not made through Canvas. I have not yet learned how to use Canvas. So maybe now I will start to use or explore that Canvas.
Yeah, give it a try.
Okay, so I hope you are seeing my slides now.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay,
It's
great. Okay, great. So patents. So what are patents? So first, let me discuss. Okay, properties. So because patents is part of intellectual property, and what do we mean by properties? So traditionally, there are two types of properties recognized by law. So we have real property and personal property. So real property, these are normally your land, real estate, buildings, etc. Those are the usual kinds of real properties. And for personal property, normally we have these are types of properties that are normally not fixed on land, no? Whether your cell phone, notebook, pen, and even automobiles, they are considered personal property. So where does intellectual property come in? So if you convert, let's say, this truck into a toy, and then that toy transforms, as you can see here, it can be considered as a intellectual property. This particular one, US 4516948A, is actually a patent and a design for a transforming truck into a truck that transforms into a robot. So why do we have intellectual property? Why is this recognized by law? So if you look at the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 27, everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. So as you can see, it's intellectual property, not just about owning rights, earning from them, etc. It's actually a human right. So it benefits both the owner and society, as you will see in some of my next slides, because some theories about intellectual property is that it's a natural theory says that anything that you create with your body, which includes your mind, is an expression of yourself, and you should be the one to own it and dictate what happens to it, how it is used by you or by others. Another theory on intellectual property is the utilitarian theory. So it benefits the creator and society because one is motivated to create inventions, great art, and of course that benefits society. The inventions makes our lives easier. Art satisfies our artistic interests. So these are IPs are also territorial. So if you are intending to register your IPs, remember that you should register it in every country that you want protection. So registration in the Philippines won't suffice. If you are also exporting your products, your services abroad, like the US, you have to register there as well. And it's generally not a perpetual right. These have expiration dates for copyright and patents. Although trademarks, they do expire, but they can be renewed indefinitely or so. So it's practically perpetual as long as you comply with the renewal requirements. Okay, so here is some example of the natural right theory on intellectual property. Perhaps you have watched this episode and remember this. Hopefully the audio will come across. This is about an invention, and the witness on the witness stand is the inventor.
There's no audio po.
No audio.
When you share your screen, you have to click the audio button. Maybe you can stop share
Audio
first
button.
and share again.
Okay, you are screen sharing. I do not see that audio sharing.
You may stop sharing po, and then
Stop sharing.
when you share again, there are two buttons at the bottom of the screen. When you click share screen, you click po yung share audio.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So, okay. So, rewind.
And hear the audio na po. Thank you.
이와 ATM이 만든 2022년형 현금 자동 입출 금기의 핵심 기술은 보안 장치가 달린 카세트입니다. 맞습니까?
네. 제가 이 두 손으로 직접 개발한 카세트입니다.
언제 처음 개발하셨습니까?
때는 2019년 겨울 무척이나 추웠던 11월의 어느 날이었습니다.
카세트 보안 장치를 개발하게 된 특별한 계기가 있습니까?
그해 겨울엔 유독 ATM을 조작한 횡령 사건이 많았습니다. 그러다 보니 상부에서 지시가 내려왔어요. 새로운 카세트를 만들어라. 거짓말과 속임수가 통하지 않는 정직한 카세트를 만들어 보아라.
개발 과정을 설명해 주시겠습니까?
이화 ATM 연구 개발부원들의 피와 땀. 정확한 설명이 가능할까요? 2020년 10월 카세트 보안 장치로 실용 신안을 출원할 때까지 우리의 도전은 지칠 줄 모르고 계속되었습니다.
So you will see from the clip, no, that the inventor, the one who is testifying, says that they made the invention out of their blood, sweat, and tears. Because again, the natural theory and IP says that it's whatever you produce with your mind, your body, you're supposed to own it. Because yun nga, as stated here, it's a product. It can be a product of your blood, sweat, and tears. That's how mostly inventors, authors, creators are passionate about their creations. Okay, so maybe you remember that from watching your Netflix. Okay, let's go to an example of the utilitarian theory for IP as it is applied. So ilang-ilang essential oils. So you will see here, town of Anao in Central Luzon have 10,000 ilang-ilang trees. So these ilang-ilang trees can be processed into an essential oil, a key ingredient for perfumes and other products, and a boiler is needed for this process. But the town only had one boiler. This caused a bottleneck and seriously affected their productivity. So where does IP, intellectual property, or patents come in? So the Korean IP office, leading an APEC project, searched for expired patents and was able to find an idea for a boiler tray design to improve the process. This led to the creation of a mobile and environment-friendly oil extraction boilers for the town. Because, as I said, most IPs are not perpetual. So when you register your patent and it expires, it becomes part of the public domain. What does that mean? It means that anyone can now use that invention of yours. So the society benefits from the invention that you disclose because everyone can now use it whenever your patent expires. So it only shows also if that your invention is, you want to keep it as a trade secret, you don't want any others to copy it, etc. You just keep it a secret or a trade secret. The danger is if someone finds out about it or makes a similar invention, then you have no right to stop them if you do not have that patent registration. Okay, let's go to the types of intellectual properties. So for patents, we have two kinds, the patent inventions or patents itself and utility models. These involve the protection of the technical features of inventions. Plant variety, so new plant varieties that are created, even fruits, can be registered and you can have exclusive rights over those for a certain period of time, certain number of years. And then you have your industrial design or ornamental features. This only involves the look, the visual aesthetics of a product. Okay, so I will discuss that more in a bit. So your other IPs are your trademarks. I think it's about the brands. I think it was a bit discussed earlier. And literary or artistic words where we can call them copyright. So your movies, your articles, publications, even for your marketing materials, your posters, brochures, can be the subject of a copyright and should not be copied or used by others without your permission. But for today, our topic is focused on patents. So we will focus on that topic, excluding the other types of IP. So what can you patent ba? So here are the types of product. So it can be machines, devices, etc. I will show examples of this later so you can better appreciate what they are. So process, these can be methods of manufacture. Normally this is a steps and shown through a flow chart. Something that you can do a flow chart or can represent in a flow chart. Can be considered a process and can be patented. So computer related inventions. but software itself, yung source code, it is under copyright, not patent. So kaya that is why we call this computer-related inventions, not software or source code. Letter D, an improvement of any of the foregoing. So let's say you saw another's invention and you were able to improve on it, you can patent the improvement. But you cannot patent the other's invention. You need permission from the original inventor to use his invention. But for the improvement, you can patent it. Okay? So this is an example of a product patent. So ito yung golf putter. Supposedly, you see the lines here, the 3 dots, to help the golfer align the putter to the golf ball, and also these 2 fins, which can be help the golfer align the putter to the golf ball. And also on the right side, US registration 11058933 is also another putter where the hitting side is circular, supposedly to help you also align the putter to the ball. So practically the size of a golf ball itong hitting side. So actually for sports, it is the golf that has the most number of patents, from golf clubs, golf balls, training equipment. So golf is the #1 source of patent filings in relation to sports. Okay, so here is an example of a process patent. It is about a method of processing an all-purpose cream. So you will see here, it's a flow chart, basically steps: blending, hydrating the milk powder mixture, heating, adding pre-melted milk. So para siyang, it's almost like a parang recipe, no? Almost like a recipe, doing things. So you can patent that as a process. Ito naman, industrial design registration. So here again is your ornamental aspect of your product, the aesthetic side. So you cannot cover in an industrial design any technical features. Let's say yung sa right side, the pail, it has a thread, diba? So you can screw on the cover. So the thread cannot be considered as an aesthetic feature because it has a functional or a technical aspect. It is needed so that the cover can be screwed onto it. But all else, how it looks, the pail, the cover, how they look, can be registered as industrial design. On your left, ito yung crate for the bottles, di ba? So you can put and transport bottles. So even that look can be registered as an industrial design. Okay. So ito naman, graphic user interface. So of course, when the IP code was enacted, this was, well, may GUI na, but not that popular. But now, there are more and more registrations for GUIs, even yung icons sa telephone nyo. Diba? Yung, kunyari, certain apps have their logo that you tap or press to open that app. Those can be registered na as an industrial design and you can get protection from that. Okay, so hope that is clear. Okay, so what to know? So you know now what can be registered, but can you register any of your creation, your product? Well, you have to comply with these requirements. It must be new, it must have inventive step, and it must be industrially applicable. So the next slides will discuss this in detail. So basic requirements, what do you mean by new? So new means it has not been made public anywhere in the world. So not just in the Philippines. So if you see a product abroad that's not yet in the Philippines and you want to be the first to introduce it in the Philippines, you really cannot patent that because it's already disclosed, made public in some part of the world. It has to be very new, not yet disclosed anywhere in the world to be able to get a patent. So you also have your published patents as a source of prior arts, or what you can no longer register because they are already published patents, meaning someone has already applied for a patent for a similar invention or design, and that's been published. Well, the exception is except 12 months prior. So the law allows you to, to test your product in the market, if it's worth registering, if it's a hit or not, but you must register it within 12 months from the first day you made it public. Okay, but the danger here is if it's a hit and someone sees that it has potential and beats you to the registration. So that's the problem. So still we advise normally to go for the registration right away. Don't rely on this 12-month exception, 12 months exception. Okay, so that's new. And this is inventive step. What is this? So an invention involves an inventive step if having regard to prior art, it is not obvious to a person skilled in the art at the time of filing, the filing date or prior date of the application claiming the invention. Basically, what this means is that it should not be obvious. So you have a problem and the solution is not obvious based on what inventions, solutions are already existing or made known anywhere in the world. So for example, here, this guy got his shirt stuck between the doors or on the door of that car. So, and the window is open. So normally the solution would be, the obvious solution would be just to, well, open the door. But let's see this guy, what his solution is and why his solution is not. Ayan. So his solution is tingin. Okay, so this guy shows an obvious solution to the problem. So obvious solution, just open the door. So you cannot patent that because it's an obvious solution, okay, to the problem. Okay, industrially applicable. The third requirement, an invention that can be produced and used in any industry shall be industrially applicable. So your invention should not just be at the theoretical level. You say that theoretically I can do this, I can create this, etc., etc. So it should be capable of being produced and used in any industry. Okay. Well, I think normally this is not an issue for most applications. It's the first two. It must be new and it must have inventive step. Those are the normal problems in a patent application. Okay. So pre-application, what you need to consider? Who owns the patent? So I would suppose most of you are in a company or company owners, etc. Because it depends who, if an employee created the patent, he might own it depending on certain facts, such as if he created that invention as part of his regularly assigned duties, it would belong to the owner. But if he created that invention that is not part of his duties, even if he did it during office hours, at office premises, using office supplies, etc., he would be the owner of that patent. So you have to be careful who owns that patent. Prior art search, freedom to operate search. So normally we suggest our clients to do this because before you patent, you need to know if it's new. So no one has patented that before. And also, if before you do your R&D, research and development, it's worthwhile to do a prior art search, what's out there already, so that you would not be infringing them. Let's say you thought that you were able to produce on your own an invention, but it turns out that invention was already developed by someone else and registered as a patent. So you could be liable for infringement, even if you supposedly came up with that invention all on your own. So, okay, so preparing the patent application. So general requirements are the disclosure, claims, and drawings. Disclosure is the explanation of how the invention works. The claims, these are a legal way of defining what your invention really is. And of course, the drawings help us understand what the invention is. And this is the application process. Of course, you file your application. Formality examination number 2 is where the IPO checks if you complied with all the documentary supporting requirements and you filed it in the proper format, because the IPO is very strict in formats, especially for patents. 3, prior art search. This is the one I just described before. The IPO will check if previous patents have been registered or filed for registration before, because again, it must be new. Your application, your invention must be new to be able to be given a registration. Number 4, publication for opposition. So this is published and anyone can oppose your registration, let's say on the ground that it's no longer new, it is not inventive, or they own that invention. Number 5, substantive examination. This is the most lengthiest process with the IPO, because you have to prove to the IPO that your application, your invention is indeed new, has inventive step, and is universally applicable. So it's almost always that based on our experience, that the IPO will always find some prior art and say that your invention is not new, and you have to prove that your invention is really new and has inventive step. Okay, number 6 is the issuance of letters patent, and 7 is the, so once you reach number 6, then that is a congratulations, you already have a practically have a registered patent. But if you fail in number 5, you can appeal that to the Office of the Director General of the IPO. And if you still fail there, you still can appeal that to the Court of Appeals. And if you fail there, you appeal it to the Supreme Court. Okay, so that is the simple process of a patent application. So why do you need to register? Because you could sue others for patent infringement, and you could also, learning about patents is, you can avoid patent infringement. So what is infringement? Making, using, offering for sale, selling, or importing a patented product or a product obtained directly or indirectly from a patented process. So take note here, even merely importing, not just selling, can make you liable. Use of a patented process without the authorization, of course. If you are authorized, then there is no problem. Okay, so contributory infringer. So here, even if you are not the one who is directly selling, producing, or importing the product, or making use of the process, but you induced someone to do those things, then you can be a contributory infringer. Okay, so kumbaga sa criminal law, you're an accessory to the crime. Design infringement. Design again is yung covers aesthetic appearance, visual appearance, or visual features of your product. So the test is sameness of appearance from the point of view of an ordinary observer. Are they similar based on ordinary observer, not based on the designer who would know every inch, every line in a design, no? So based on an ordinary observer lang. So minute differences would not likely be considered as a defense against infringement. So types of infringement: civil, admin, criminal case. You can only be liable for a criminal case if you have received a previous, if you have been given or meted a previous judgment finding you liable for patent infringement. Otherwise, you can only get receive a civil admin case. Liabilities, of course, pay damages, whether in the damages sustained, royalty, or at the discretion of the court, treble damages, 3 times of the actual damages. So it can be quite costly. Can be filed with the regular courts where the usual, the judge or the Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines. Okay. And I think that's it. I hope that you were able to get a glimpse of that very, very quick presentation of what a patent is and how to register it, the requirements for registration. Thank you, Ma'am Pinky.
Thank you so much, Attorney Ding Dong. We have a couple of questions from our participants. So for our first question, puro po to anonymous po. Okay. For our first question, how about software design? Where does it fall under?
Okay, software design. So if I understand your question correctly, so software design, there's the source code. The source code is for copyright. When you say the visuals, the graphic user interface, how the user will interact with the software through the computer screen or the phone screen, it would be the industrial design. You can register that as industrial. So a software can have many types of IP that you can register.
Okay. O nga, you mentioned it kanina, di ba? That's why you called it computer-related,
Yes.
movement. Yes. Okay. Second question, what kind of inventions can be protected or patented?
What kind of invention? So it can be a product, a process, computer-related invention, or any improvements there of those previous product, process, or computer-related invention improvements there. So basically, practically anything that you can produce or use as a process, you can patent.
Okay. Another question is a patent valid in every country?
Okay, so no. So you have to register in every country that you want registration, protection. So you have to register in the Philippines if you have a business presence here. If you have presence in the US, you have to register there. But there are ways to facilitate, well, it's not really an international registration, but to make it easier to register in several countries at the same time. But you have to, at the end of the day, you have to register and choose which country you want to register in.
Yeah. Initially, probably the Philippines where you are at, right? And then probably where you intend to market your idea. If it's in the US, then you register it in the US, right, attorney?
Yes, but you just have to be aware, consult your lawyers because there are time limits. Kasi if you recall, di ba dapat new ang invention when you file that application. So we have laws and treaties to handle that because you can't really, it's impossible to file an application at the same time in every country. But there are time limits like 12 months, 30 months. You have to be aware of those.
Okay. All right. Another question is, when you create a slide presentation with researched articles from Google, is it safe to have a last page on references to protect you from lawsuits on intellectual property?
Okay, so that is dependent on how much from Google, from another's work, another's research, you presented in your slide. So the references, it's a good practice, yes. I don't know if you notice in my slides, I do put references. Although mostly I use those in the Creative Commons when no one owns it or the ownership copyright has been waived. But to answer your question, the references will only protect you from a claim of plagiarism. So copyright infringement does not mean that you acknowledge someone that this is the work of someone that you are not committing copyright infringement. If you affect the economic rights or other rights of that copyright owner, then you can be liable for copyright infringement. So the common mistake there is a Facebook, credits to the owner, CTTO, then you share a music, a picture, etc. The common misconception is that there's no copyright infringement because you said CTTO, credits to the owner. That is not a defense. You can still be liable for copyright infringement. And the Philippine IP office has clarified that by making an announcement, parang public information notice regarding that.
Okay. So, hindi pala yung CTTO, mahilig pa naman ako CTTO.
Hindi siya. Does not mean that there's no copyright infringement. It depends on how much you copied.
Okay. All right. Usually naman po yung sa Facebook kung mag-CTTO is yung photos, for example. Credit to the owner. Okay, another question is how to know if my solutions is innovative enough for a patent.
Okay, normally you would need to check previous patents, previous inventions on that. So we assist clients who want an assessment on inventiveness. But basically, if you want to do it on your own, you have to check previous inventions on that.
Okay, pero pag they will ask the assistance of the agency, is there any fee or payment that they should prepare for research? Kasi sa if it's a business name, you just go to DTI and you click it and they would just say that it's already existing or not. Is it the same as patent?
So for patents, the government, the intellectual property office does not provide that service because it's really very difficult to do. So it's normally us, the patent lawyers, who do those analyses for the clients.
And they can always go to ACRA actually. Para may service po kayo ng ganon so that they would be able to seek your assistance to check if the patent is already existing. Does ACRA provide this service?
Yes, we assist clients in prior art search or patent is registrable, which includes if it's in
Okay, I'm not sure if it's me or if it's Attorney Ding Dong who has lost the connection. Am I good or am I out?
It's attorney.
It's attorney.
I can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, I thought it was me. Okay.
Miss Pinky.
Ayan.
Okay.
There. I think you have ayun, we lost him na, but I think he will be coming back. But just while waiting for Attorney Ding Dong to come back, maybe you can post your questions on the Q&A box. We still have 10 minutes for the Q&A actually. It's pretty much important, especially for our innovators, no? To know the intricacies of patents. So let's take advantage of Attorney Ding Dong. So attorney's back. So attorney.
Hi, sorry.
All right. So another question is that with this hackathon, is it necessary that the pitches that will be presented should be registered first?
Normally, we would suggest at least, not really registered, but at least filed as an application because that would be sufficient protection for you. At times, this may not be practical, you understand, but so we normally suggest that to have at least that NDA clause wherever you will make that pitch. But of course, that is not as a certain guarantee as you already filed that application. So to short answer, best you have filed that application. Only if you cannot do that, you rely on an NDA.
And they can just withdraw it anytime.
Yes, they can withdraw the application later on if they do not want to pursue it.
All right. Okay. Another question is, can ethics and morals have an effect on patent registration, especially on medicine?
Okay, so ethics and morals, of course, it is always relevant to everything we do, is in patents.
Mhm. Attorney Ding Dong, maybe you should just turn off your video to save on bandwidth.
You might be surprised. Wala na naman. Hello?
Yes,
Yan.
we can hear
Okay,
you.
I'll turn off my video.
Yes. All right.
Okay, so for the question, ethics and morals, you might be surprised during the height of the COVID pandemic when everyone was trying to look for a cure from existing medicines, that there are several patent owners who waived their patent rights, saying that there's a potential that this drug can be used to cure COVID. We are waiving our patent rights here. You can use it. Anyone can use it. So that's how a concrete example of ethics and morals can be relevant in patents. We also have clients, we have advice, because the client is like an NGO who really wants to help others. So they opt to, whether, depending on the technology, not to register. So it can be freely available to the public, or register it if they think that it is more helpful to the public. So yes. But I don't think patents would hinder the development of inventions, because it promotes the disclosure, because inventions, especially costly R&Ds, you need to recover them and the cost, and the patents would help you recover the cost, and the patents will expire eventually, and the invention will be free anyway in the future.
Okay, we're down to our last question. Can I ask, how is artificial intelligence or AI related to copyright or plagiarism?
Okay, so this is a hot topic among the intellectual property lawyers and IP community, because the issue here is if AI, a true AI, not just an AI who combines stuff, but a true AI that makes something new. The first issue is, who is the author? Would it be the one who created that AI software? Would it be the one who prompted the AI to make that artwork? Actually, there's in the US, there was actually an AI generated painting artwork that won an art contest, and the judges, when they awarded that top prize, they did not know that it was created through AI.
Through AI.
Yeah. So actually, this matter is still in the development stage. It's very new, so it can go either way. I think in the UK, the rule for them is that whoever prompted the AI, not the creator of the software, but the one who
the content itself,
the one who prompted the AI, make me a painting having a tree like this and that, etc., and that would be the owner. But for us, we do not know yet. There's no jurisprudence, there's no case yet regarding that. It's still in development, very new, so we have yet to see.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Attorney Ding Dong. Mahilig ka pala sa Korean novela po, ha? But I really got the message across so clearly. I'm a very visual person myself, so videos have more impact on me, actually. All right, we have learned that intellectual property is really, really important, and it is a right that should not be taken for granted. Yes, we want to help out, but if it's your idea, and if your idea will be used, and most especially it will make money, you should be protected by the patent law. So innovators, you now know how to protect your ideas. It can be your product or a process like the flow chart Attorney Ding Dong showed. computer-related inventions, and any improvement made from an existing process or improvement. Let's just be mindful of the basic requirements for registering, like registering a patent, like it should be new anywhere around the world. Register it right away and don't wait for the 12-month coverage to register, as someone may beat you to it. And it must be industrially applicable, meaning it can be used in any industry. Once again, thank you so much, Attorney Ding Dong, for joining us this afternoon. We learned a lot from you. Maraming salamat po. And
Thank you, Pinky.
thank you po. To give us the closing remarks for today's kickoff session, let's hear it from PMAP Research Committee Chairperson, Program Director, Human Capital and Organization Development, School of Education and Human Development at the University of Asia and the Pacific, Dr. Josette Reyes. Dr. Josette?
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Hello there. How are you? There. Okay, now I start my video. Good afternoon, everyone. As Miss Pinky had said, we learned a lot in today's informative session. So thank you for the informative sessions as discussed to us today by our esteemed speakers, Mr. Gabriel Ichon for the business model creation, Mr. Kevin Sommerbang for designing pitch presentations, and the last one from Attorney Ding Dong Henilo for patent application and protection. So we in PMAP, particularly the research committee, would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for this opportunity of being learners today, learners and innovators as well. And I join the people who have been with us for the past almost 2 hours, learning a lot, no, from the contribution of each of our speakers. In the screen, I think, is it there? Oh no, it's not there in the screen. Well, anyway, just to give a heads up, there. So that's the cue for me to remind everyone that we are in the kickoff session of the second Innovation Hackathon of PMAP. Okay, as you can see, we have so many participants in today's session, and for you also to know, it's so amazing that we have received a lot of entries, a lot of entries for our hackathon. For the ideation and hackathon proper, as you can see in the screen, we have this period from March 8 to March 22 to go over the submissions of each one, and they will be judged between April 1 and 14. And for the winner of the second Innovation Hackathon entries, the teams will be chosen on April 18, 2023. So that's a heads up for our hackathon innovation activity, our PMAP's contribution to the world of innovation. So, of course, the most exciting part is the pitching and awarding, which we would like to see and hear personally. And that's gonna be on April 28, 2023. Okay, so with the dates before us, we are very excited and looking forward to the contributions of all the participants for those who have submitted their entries. We are very favored to have a lot of entries, which means a lot of ideas, a lot of innovations for you and me in the field of our work. So together with the team of the research committee of PMAP and together with the rest of the PMAP professional staff, we are closing this kickoff session by thanking our esteemed speakers who joined us, all the ones who have made this session very lively with Miss Pinky there. Thank you for your ad-libs and thank you for the support given here in our very techie savvy presentation. We are also trying to be innovators in our presentation through the research committee. So with everyone in the team, thank you very much for joining us, with all the participants who have joined us as well. As again, our gratitude to the speakers really flow from our heart, and the rest of PMAP. Let's wish each other a good day and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Looking forward to the next activity of the second Innovation Hackathon. And with this, I turn the floor again to Miss Pinky.
Thank you so much, Doc Josette. We are all excited for the upcoming pitches. Innovators, we hope you learned a lot of tricks and tips for a very good presentation from our speakers. That's it for our kickoff session. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We hope you had a fun and learning-filled afternoon, and good luck to all of our innovators. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to our professional staff in charge, Sarah, Margot, and Jansen. Their email addresses will be placed on the chat box by our technical team. This has been Pinky Mante of PMAP Cebu. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe.